fire. All the enemies are just bathed in a hellfire inferno. There we go. There it is. Burn Barb. Lunging Burn Barb. What's up, guys? Xygor here. Diablo 4 recently released the Season 8 PTR, Public Test Realm, so a lot of the players are experimenting with different builds that are going to become really powerful here in a little bit. I've been doing the same with the Barbarian, and I found a build that's really fun, the Burn Barbarian, the Lunging Burn Barbarian. And so this is going to be a build guide that shows you how to play this build, everything you need to know about it, the gear, the skills, the Paragon, the expertise you need to take, and the boss powers that synergize. That's the seasonal theme this time. So here it goes. Before we get into it though, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And I do want to give props to Rob2628. I've kind of used his original version of this build as a template, but I made a few adjustments that basically I think optimize it a little bit, especially around the gear that I got. So let's just get right into it, beginning with the gear. So with the helm, we want an ugly bastard helm. Here you want to try to max out Wrath of the Berserker cooldown reduction with your Masterworking. That will help you a lot with this build. You're going to get a lot of extra damage from that because we pretty much want to spam that all the time. It's really great. This is a pretty good helm that I got. For the chest, we're going with Might here. This just gives us a little bit more damage reduction. I kind of scuffed this one because it's Iron Skin cooldown reduction, and you actually don't want that. That's really bad. You want Ground Stomp cooldown reduction instead, but I did get Earthquake Size, that's good. Strength, Maximum Life, Resistance to All here. Now, if you aren't having problems with damage reduction, you can actually drop this and use Shroud of False Death instead. That'll give you some extra damage and a little bit other survivability if you want it, but Might is actually really good here too, plus you can get the Earthquake Size and Ground Stomp with it. For the hands, we want Fist of Fate. Mine is really bad. You want an Ancestral one, obviously, and you want Attack Speed here out of your Masterworking. This is pretty bad one, pretty scuffed. You can get a lot better, and but that's all I have. But this is the glove to use. With the pants, you want the Bulkathos aspect on it, and you want Strength, Maximum Life, Resistance to All. I have Ground Stomp cooldown and Earthquake Size. That's exactly what you want here. Bulkathos just helps this build a little bit for damage reduction. They changed this aspect as part of the recent patch, but still gives you damage reduction. For the boots, we want Ghostwalker with Strength, Maximum Life, and Movement Speed. If you're not having problems with survivability, change the max life to Warcry. That'll give you extra damage. But I do have Movement Speed and Earthquake Size. That's what you want to get out of this one. Weapons. So with your weapons, I have Earthquakes here. Earthquakes damage is a lot nerfed since the last time I saw you guys on video talking about Earthquakes, but it still does do a little bit of damage, so that's what we want here. And also we're gonna go with damage while berserking and chance for Earthquakes to cast twice. Now ideally I want to masterwork chance for Earthquakes to cast twice, so that gets up higher, but I masterworked another item to give me a little bit boost there. You want to split damage while berserking and damage while close among all of your weapons, just like before. So I have one-hander elements here. This amplifies their damage between different elements. We're masterworking berserking on this one and chance for Earthquakes to cast twice. Basically same sword here, damage while berserking and chance for Earthquakes to cast twice. So I have 100% chance for Earthquakes to cast twice, but ideally you will want to have one of these, you know, Earthquake duration instead of cast twice. This one is Creeping Death. More damage over time, which we're using on this build. I'll talk about that a little bit in regard to the boss power soon. Vehement Brawler's Serrated Cleaver here. This is a axe, and ideally we don't want to go with an axe as our weapon. We actually want to use a slashing polearm if we can get one. I couldn't really get one, but that's fine. Strength here, Earthquake duration, and damage while berserking. And the way I have it set it up, I'm hitting the caps we need for damage while berserking and damage while close. Amulet, this is probably my best piece. I have a strength counteroffensive heavy-handed amulet. Ideally you want to mass temper the strength. Or I'm sorry, masterwork the strength, so it triple hits and gets you an orange there. More strength is good. With the rings, we have inner calm. It basically, it just gives you additional damage. You're not going to get the bonus for standing still because we're constantly moving, but the damage is still good. But on this, we want Call of the Ancients cooldown and damage while close. And then this ring, damage while berserking and Call of the Ancients cooldown reduction as well. This one is strength, attack speed, and resistance to all elements. Also note that in the description below, you will find a planner where you can see the gear preferences, the Paragon skills, etc. With the expertise, we're going with Axe here. Axe is not what we're using to do our lunging strike, though. We currently have that set to mace. Though ideally, I do think you want to have this set to polearm, and then we're going to get the Axe expertise either way. Alright, gems. So gems, we just have red gems in all of the kind of offensive leaning items here. So that just gives us more strength. That's what we want here. With our runes, we have Sir Lum here. So this is just going to synergize super well with this build. You cast 5 skills and then become exhausted, and you restore primary resource. With the axe here, we have Moni Tech, and this just invokes earthquakes like we were using in the previous season. Just doing more earthquakes whenever we're shouting and casting ground stomp. For the jewelry, we want diamonds. As usual, just gives us all resist. I have been able to max my all resist combining what I have in the Paragon boards with this, but it's barely maxed. I just got enough. Let's talk about the skill tree. Again, check the description below for the exact skills, but we have lunging strike and combat lunging strike. Out of here, we don't have much to take, so we're just taking Endless Fury to generate more fury. Basic skills are basically, you know, we're spamming it all the time, so we're getting more fury here. Maxing out Ground Stomp up to Tactical Ground Stomp here. We are taking 3 points in Belligerence. Just more damage after basic skill. We're spamming basic skills. 3 points in Imposing Presence, 3 points in Martial Vigor. These are for more damage reduction. 1 point in Rallying Cry all the way to Strategic Rallying Cry. We got 1 point in Challenging Shout all the way to Tactical Challenging Shout. 5 points in Warcry for more damage. We are bringing it to Power Warcry over here. Booming Voice, basically used in all Barbarian builds, gives our shout skill durations increased length. We have 2 points in Swiftness for move speed. Aggressive resistance here, and then down to maxing out Prolific Fury. We just have 1 point here and max points here. You get the bonus from the Ugly Bastard Helm, that's why it looks a little bit different. 3 points in each of the following: No Mercy, Pit Fighter, and Slaying Strike. Tons of damage from that. It's really good. Then we have 1 point in Thick Skin, 3 points in Counteroffensive. I have the boost here from the skill points in my amulet. Heavy Handed and Counteroffensive are still basically the two best damage passives. If you find amulets, you can also get Pit Fighter, No Mercy, or Slaying Strike. Those are all pretty good on amulets as well, though. For the ultimate skills, we have 5 points in Call of the Ancients, and then all the way up to Supreme Call of the Ancients. We have 3 points in Heavy Hitter. Not as good as it used to be because they kind of nerfed our Earthquake, but still is worth taking. 3 points in Heavy Handed. I get the additional 3 from the amulet. And then our key passive is Unconstrained. That's really the only option we have here as well. Alright, let's get into the Paragon. Again, this is based off Rob2628's original template for this. I did make changes, especially related to the first glyph, and I added extra skill points to bring it up to Paragon 300. So first one here, we have the cleaver out of here. This is why, because I'm wielding an axe, but because I changed it to mace, I think we're going to want to change this out actually and take the mace one. If you are wielding the cleaver, you can... If you are wielding an axe, this will be beneficial, though. I just might change this around because I just found that mace. So, there we go. We are taking Brawn, Tenacity, Iron Strength, and Raw Power. Up here, next board, we're taking Challenger, just gives us more stats here. We're getting Destroyer, Demolish, Pillage, Restorative, Arrogance, Brawn, and then here is our Legendary note, Decimator, really good. Next board you want to go to is to the east. Get Marshall here. Gives us the ability to keep our shouts up more. We're also taking a lot of good rare nodes here. Squall, Raw Might, Denial, Catalyst. We're taking Tenacity and Alloyed, and then the legendary node is Force of Nature. We're still getting the Dust Devils here. I need to get a little bit more close damage to max this out. That's alright though. It's definitely easily doable. I just need to get a little bit more. Next board here, we have Rumble. Rumble Glyph, severely nerfed in the last patch, but still worth taking in this build. We're still laying down Earthquakes that do some damage, so we're taking that one. We have the legendary node Blood Rage, very good here. I have the max bonus because I have enough damage while berserking, but ideally one of my weapons I would change damage while berserking to close damage, and that's easily doable with the tempering system. Then we get Grit, Restorative, Revel, Wrath, and Craving. Mostly more damage here. Last board here, we are going with the Exploit Glyph. This just allows us to keep everything vulnerable. Very valuable to have that because there's no other way to really do it easily in this build. Then we have Weapons Master for the legendary node with the rare nodes Denial, Nimble, Iron Strength, and Raw Power. So there is your Paragon boards. Let's talk about the boss powers. So the boss powers that we are taking as part of this build, the Lunging Burn Barb, are designed to synergize well with Lunging Strike. And what you'll notice here is I'm hovering over Lunging Strike, and it's a mobility skill. And that's super key for this build because our main boss power here is Cinerat's Flames. And what this does is, using a mobility skill, burns close enemies for 220% burning damage over 4 seconds. We're constantly emitting those flames for burning damage with our Lunging Strike. You can basically spam Lunging Strike. It scales with your attack speed. The more attack speed you have, the more times you can spam it quickly, and that will allow you to unleash way more flames. So this is basically the bread and butter engine for the damage for this build. For our modifier powers, we're taking in Dariel's Flaming Skull. This just does more damage to burning enemies from your damage over time effects, which we have. So that's basically all it is. With Avarice's Explosive Ore, when we're activating our main boss power, it spends all of our primary resource to increase our damage by 1.5% per resource point spent. That's why you see, when I'm in the pit, it does take away my resource super quick, but then you get it replenished right away because you're just gaining so much from basically using a basic attack-oriented build. So this is no problem to use, it's just more damage. Taurus Rage, we get more attack speed, which is good for this build, increasing per 1% damage to crowd control enemies you have. You can roll damage to crowd control on one of your weapons if you want, I think, to get the maximum bonus. But I haven't done that. I don't necessarily think it's worth it compared to getting damage while berserking in close, but results may differ. Let me know if you've gotten more damage doing it that way instead. So that is basically the boss powers, which is the season mechanic. This will be the season mechanic in Season 8 in the full version as well. Alright, now I'm going to show you how to use this build in a Pit 65 just to show you kind of how it works and give you some basic strategies about playing this build. Alright, here it is, Burn Barb. We're just basically Lunging Strike everything, and it burns down. Basically spam all your abilities in this build, and on the elites, that's when you want to use the Ground Stomp. More ground stomps, the better. You want to stack the cooldown for that. Same with Call the Ancients cooldown. It's really good in this build. Just ground stomp, killing more enemies. Go, just basically spamming everything, killing everything. The longer that you're on an enemy, the more burn damage you can take, that they do take. You can see from the kind of graphics there. Next floor. Killing stuff along the way, spamming my abilities here. Leads drop the ground stomp. More damage. Look at that fire. All the enemies are just bathed in a hellfire inferno. With this build, Fury is really not an issue. You just basically have a ton of it, and even when you lose some from some of your synergies, you get it all back right away, basically. Alright, boss time. Let's go. Blood Bishop. Basically, the boss's health just kind of drains. Just gotta keep lunge and strike. Keep your ground stomps going. Don't get caught in that like me. And just keep going. Got Diablo boy here. Got Lilith. And there it is. There's a 65. This can be a lot more optimized than what I have. I have so lackluster gear in comparison to what's possible, so I'm hoping that this can go up to 100. It's a fun build, quick playstyle. It's going to clear stuff pretty quickly on T4, and it's a fun build. So there you go.